share. From Final Fantasy VII Remake to Metroid Prime 4, here are the biggest games that didn't show up to E3. By Marty Sliva While E3 2018 was filled with amazing games like Cyberpunk 2077, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Last of Us Part 2, there were a handful of notable games that were nowhere to be found throughout the show. So we decided to gather the 15 biggest games that were complete no-shows at E3 2018. Keep in mind that we didn't include any games that haven't been officially announced, so no Splinter Cell, Star Fox Grand Prix, or whatever the hell Rocksteady's working on. We also scratched any from the list if the publisher confirmed it wouldn't be at the show beforehand, like Borderlands 3, Darksiders 3, and Biomutant. With that being said, here are the 15 biggest games missing from E3 2018. Final Fantasy VII Remake. We all had our fingers crossed that we'd get our first look at Final Fantasy VII Remake in years, either at Sony or Square's conference. After all, we haven't seen anything new from it since PSX 2015. Sadly, Square's focus was clearly on Kingdom Hearts 3. Here's hoping that we hear from the highly anticipated remake after KH3 launches on January 29, 2019. Red Dead Redemption 2. While Rockstar generally doesn't attend E3, Red Dead Redemption 2's partnership with Sony had us hoping that we'd see a new trailer on stage at Sony's conference. However, Sony stuck to their word, and a majority of their showcase focused on Death Stranding, The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and Spider-Man. Metroid Prime 4. The reveal of Metroid Prime 4 at E3 2017 was one of the biggest surprises of the show. But since then, Nintendo has been absolutely radio silent on the project, to the point where we're not even sure who's developing it. We spoke with Nintendo of America President Reggie Fils-Aimé about it, and he said the game is progressing really well. There are times where we'll bend that strategy for unique situations, like Metroid Prime 4 last year, but mostly we want to focus on the here and now, Fils-Aimé said. We don't believe it's in the fans' best interests to tease them year after year after year about a piece of content. We want to say here it is, here's when it's coming, and get ready for it. Pokémon 2019. Another game revealed at E3 2017 and then went radio silent. We still don't really know what the core Pokémon game for Switch coming in 2019 is going to be like. However, any hopes we had of learning about it at E3 were dashed when Nintendo revealed Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, which are clearly their focus for the end of 2018. We asked Nintendo's Bill Trinen about Pokémon 2019's absence, and he said, there was other stuff that we probably could have included in E3, but is probably a bit further out, and so we decided to really kind of keep the focus a little bit more on between now and early 2019, which I think you saw some hints of there with a couple of games. Crystal Dynamics Avengers Project. It's been a year and a half since we saw the reveal teaser for Crystal Dynamics Avengers Project. Since then, we've heard next to nothing about the game. Like the FF7 remake, we were hoping that we'd see more at Square's E3 conference, but sadly, yet another show has passed without any more information on the game. Wild We Last. Saint-Michel and Cell's non-Ubisoft game at Paris Games Week 2015, but it's been nearly 3 years, and we haven't heard a peep about it. Which kind of makes sense, considering that Cell is clearly busy on Beyond Good and Evil 2. That said, we were hoping to get another look at the cool bear and the spooky snake goddess. Shenmue 3. Shenmue 3 was one of the big surprises at Sony's conference in 2015, and went on to be one of the most successful video game Kickstarters of all time, over $6 million in pledges. Since then, we've been drip-fed updates on the project, including the pre-E3 news that the game would be delayed to 2019. Deep Down. Okay, can we all just come together and accept the fact that Deep Down is never coming out? The last night was one of the highlights of Microsoft's E3 2017 conference. Since then, we highlighted a developer diary as part of our December IGN burst, but other than that, updates on the indie have been largely absent. Artifact. Valve announced Artifact, a Dota 2 card game, back in March. While we got a chance to go hands-on with it, they never released any official gameplay videos. We were hoping that they'd show up at E3, most likely at the PC Gamer Conference, but that was a no-go. Here's to hoping we see more at the Invitational in August. In the Valley of Gods. Speaking of Valve, one of the highlights of the 2017 Game Awards was the reveal of Campo Santo's follow-up to Firewatch, called In the Valley of Gods. Since then, the only major update to the game was the news that Campo Santo had been acquired by Valve, and moved development of the gorgeous-looking 2019 game from San Francisco up to Seattle. Yoshi Switch. One of the most surprising absences from E3 was Yoshi for Nintendo Switch. We saw quite a bit of gameplay back at E3 2017, and expected the same this year. However, it was nowhere to be found at the show, with Nintendo confirming that the game has been delayed into 2019. We asked Nintendo's Bill Trinen about it, and he responded, "It's actually been making really good progress. They decided they wanted to make some improvements, so they're going to take just a little bit more time on it, and that's why we're not showing it this year at the show. But I think you can look forward to some updates on it later in 2018. Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 was revealed as a Switch exclusive during the 2017 Game Awards back in December. However, like a lot of the Nintendo games on this list, we haven't really heard anything about it since. However, Platinum Games was busy at E3, announcing that Nier Automata is coming to Xbox One, as well as revealing a new game called Babylon's Fall. Dead Island 2. This is another one of those games that we're pretty sure has either been cancelled, or completely reworked. The game has been notably absent from shows since its big presence at Gamescom way back in 2014. In 2016, we learned that Little Big Planet 3 developer Sumo Digital had taken over development of the game, but there's been no sign of the game since. Well, at least we got a Dying Light 2 announcement at E3 to tide us over. Witchfire. Another reveal from the Game Awards at the end of 2017 was Witchfire. This shooter from the folks who made The Vanishing of Ethan Carter and Bulletstorm. The initial trailer pointed towards a marriage of the beauty of the former with the insane action of the latter. But we'll have to wait a bit longer to get any more details on the project. Which game were you saddest to see missing from E3 2018? Let us know.